Hey guys, just before we get into this video, I want to give a big thanks to everyone for all the support you've been showing the channel recently. I'm in a bit more of a comfortable spot now, so hopefully I'll be able to be uploading some more videos moving forward, and also, fingers crossed, we'll be able to do some streams on Twitch as well. So yeah, stick around for those. I'll make sure to put notifications on YouTube when I'm doing them. Otherwise, yeah, follow me on Twitch if you want to be absolutely certain of catching me. But yeah, I can't really guarantee when those are going to be. But do expect more videos and more streams moving forward. Anyway, yeah, thanks again. And yeah, let's get into the video. So about a year ago, I did a video showing my Exodia Contagion Zor, and since then I've received a lot of questions asking me, is it still good? The simple answer is yes, but I thought maybe it's worth making a video just explaining Exodia Contagion a bit more and taking a look at both the build on my 2024 playthrough account and the one on my previous account which we made for the Warframe Done Efficiently series. So what is Exodia Contagion? Well, it's an arcane that can be equipped to the arcane slot of any Zor. It cannot be equipped to a normal weapon with a melee arcane adapter equipped. Essentially, Exodia Contagion will cause your Zor to fling a projectile during aim gliding after you have done a bullet jump or a double jump. The projectile has some confusing mechanics, so we'll go through them each in turn. Firstly, the direct hit. If you hit an enemy directly with the projectile, you will deal 2 times your Zor's damage, which is evenly distributed between impact, puncture, and slash. This can also proc the status effects of other damage types on your weapon. If you land a direct hit with the projectile, it will become lodged in the target and deal damage over time every second equal to 1 times your Zor damage for 4 seconds, after which time it will explode. The explosion from the projectile also triggers if it hits a surface. It then explodes with a radius of 8 meters. The radius is unaffected by any form of modding and cannot be increased or decreased. The explosion damage is 5 times your Zor's damage, which is dealt in pure viral damage form. However, status effects from your other elements on your weapon can also proc here. If the projectile travels further than 30 meters before hitting anything, its damage is increased depending on the rank of Exodia Contagion you have. 0%, 100%, 200% and 300% respectively for each rank. Exodia Contagion can also land critical hits, which mirrors the critical chance and damage multiplier on your Zor. The projectile speed can also be increased by adding attack speed mods to your build. Okay, so with that out of the way, let's discuss the question at hand. Is this arcane still good in 2024? Let's first of all have a look at the downsides. First and foremost, this arcane comes around very infrequently. It is usually available only once or maybe twice a year and appears in either the Knights of Nabrus event or Operation Plaguestar, during which time you will be able to farm for it. This is fine if you happen to start the game on the lead up to such an event, allowing you to acquire it early on, but if you miss it, you will either have to wait for the next event to come around, which could be a year, or you can purchase it for platinum through the in-game trade system. At present, a max rank Exodia Contagion can sell for around 100 platinum. A single rank 0 sells for upwards of 15 plat, so it is far cheaper to buy the whole thing in one go. Depending on when you buy, specifically how long it's been since the last event, this price can go up quite considerably, but generally speaking, you can usually acquire it for between 100 and 150 platinum. The second drawback of this arcane is its Zor requirement. There are some excellent melee weapons in Warframe, some Zor builds included, and using Exodia Contagion does not follow the playstyle of any of them. Using Contagion is similar in a sense to spamming an AoE primary, such as the Kuva Ogress, only with increased damage and a reduced area of effect. As such, it is advisable that if you plan on using Exodia Contagion, you should build your Zor specifically for it. That means getting as much damage and critical chance on your Zor as possible. In doing so, you will inevitably create a weapon that feels very clunky in normal melee combat. Also, being a Zor will mean that you have to rank up to at least rank 3 with the Ostron on Cetus to get the required parts, which, although not the hardest thing in the world, might not be people's immediate priority. The final drawback I'm going to mention here is the projectile's flight path. The projectile itself is affected by gravity and so can drop considerably from where you might be aiming, especially if you have a very low attack speed. Making use of the extra damage past 30 meters, therefore, can be extremely inconsistent and most of the time pointless. As well as that, it can be quite easy to land a projectile too close to you, particularly if there's an enemy in your face, which will cause you to stagger. Alright, let's move on to the benefits now. Exodia Contagion does a lot of damage, regardless of whether you launch it over 30 meters. The explosion, dealing 500% viral damage, is an awesome way to clear out swarms of enemies and, unlike an explosive AoE primary weapon, it does not use any ammo and can be spammed as much as you want. The damage is so much that even without any mods on, you can complete some of the hardest content in the normal star chart. What you're seeing here is my Zor with just Exodia Contagion equipped, clearing Adaro on Sedna, one of the higher level exterminate missions on the star chart. You can see that even with no mods, it's still able to one-shot every enemy, even when it doesn't land a critical hit. Being a Zor, you can also swap out parts to match your playstyle. For example, if you fancied a little more attack speed over extra damage, you could easily do this. For me, being able to guarantee a critical hit is the most important thing, as having that stacking multiplicative damage from the Zor explosion and from the crit damage basically wipes out anything. As well as this, and with it being a melee weapon, you can also use mods such as Blood Rush to increase your crit chance further, building up to orange and even red crits for insane damage. A good Exodia Contagion build can easily get you through Steel Path missions as well, especially if you pair it with the right frames. Chroma's Vex armor, for example, when combined with Exodia Contagion, can make short work of level 200 plus Steel Path enemies, which for something you can get relatively early on in the game is actually quite something. When farming Steel Essence in the past, I would take my Exodia Contagion sometimes 4 hours into a survival mission, and it would still be one-shotting enemies. You've probably realised I've talked a lot about damage being a key benefit here, and it's true, it is. The sole reason to use it is just for damage. But remember, for such a powerful item, it can be acquired very early on, even if you have to pay for it with Platinum. In the early game, your Platinum farming methods are largely restricted to opening relics and also selling corrupt mods. Even so, at maximum a couple hours of farming should net you enough to buy it. I believe in the 2024 playthrough, we got it during episode 5, at which point our total in-game time was somewhere between 10 and 15 hours. For an item which I personally still use after I've got everything in the game, that is an awesome advantage. In fact, I'll soon be releasing a video outlining what I consider to be the main kind of checkpoints throughout a Warframe playthrough, and I have seriously been considering making obtaining Exodia Contagion a main factor in that. Finally, being a melee attack, it benefits from all the melee related shenanigans like the combo counter, melee arcanes like Fury and Strike, and it can obviously scale well with Rhythm mods, as most Zors have at least a 3-dot disposition, with some having 4 or 5. That also can make them very effective stat sticks for use with frames like Korra, giving them a dual purpose so to speak and limiting your investment in multiple weapons. Not only that, but with the Nariman skill tree, you can benefit from increased affinity gain, so focus gain, on melee kills, making it a great tool to farm focus with. Okay, so we get it does big damage, but there are a lot of other things in the game now that also can wipe out swarms of enemies and in some cases can be acquired much faster. Take the Nataruk for example, it's essentially free after you complete the new war and does a ton of damage whilst also coming equipped with an Orokin Catalyst and having infinite ammo. Yep, that's true, and I'm not saying at all that you should use Exodia Contagion over weapons like this, but to be honest, they are kind of few and far between, and also they often lack the area of effect capabilities of Contagion. As well as that, and although you might not want to prioritise it, like I said earlier, you can get an Exodia Contagion Zor well before this point if you wanted to. Just looking at some of the usage statistics over the last year, with the exception of the Nataruk, a lot of these primary weapons require heavy investment before they can take on the top tier enemies. The same can be said for secondary weapons as well. And as for melee weapons, well, let's not get started on the use of glaives. The Skiajati and Broken War are also obtainable for free and come with Orokin Catalysts equipped for some nice early game damage, but are very short range. Alright, I think we've talked enough now. At the end of all of this, and as is the case for a lot of the things in Warframe, it all comes down to personal preference. In my opinion, Exodia Contagion Zors are still very much relevant and are a great entry method into the mid and late game of Warframe, but that's just my opinion. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments below, and if you did enjoy this video, please be sure to leave a like and subscribe, and I will see you in the next one.